been working on those hacking skills and now you're ready to turn it into a career. Well, in today's TCP Handshakes chat, I'm going to be talking with somebody who did that exact same thing. And he's going to explain to you his path from learning skills to getting paid. All right, let's do it. Hey everybody, what's good? What's going on? JB here with another CyberInsight video. Thanks for dropping by the channel and making it your new spot for cyber and network knowledge. In today's video, I'm going to be talking with a good friend from Twitter, Davin Jackson. Some of you might know him as djax_alpha. Davin is an Air Force veteran who has an extensive background in penetration testing. We're going to be talking about his path into cybersecurity, some of the lessons learned along his career path, as well as some specific cybersecurity tips that you can go ahead to implement in your environments to make things more secure. As always, before we hop into the video, if you do enjoy this content, please go ahead and smash that like, subscribe, and notification bell. I appreciate it very much. And let's hop into the chat with Davin. Well, want to welcome djax to the TCP Handshakes chat. All of you probably know him from quite a bit of different things. He's kind of all over the place. You might know him as a hacker or a pen tester or web app pen tester, family man, Air Force vet, YouTube content creator, blogger, the largest collection of Funko Pop toys I've ever seen in my life, which we can kind of see in the back corner there. So, yeah, man, hey, I appreciate you coming on here. I've been on your stuff quite a bit, so wanted to return.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So, thank you for having me. I think you did, definitely with the intro.
Yeah, I tried to hit as much different things. I mean, we got all the sand talks, and I think you've been I don't know, on so many podcasts and stuff like that. At this point, you've kind of been running the circuit the past month or two.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you publicly challenge yourself on Twitter.
Yeah,
and you're a man of your word. So
public challenges can be difficult.
Yeah, I think you're doing it with the certs. But when I did the Twitter thing, I said, I want to get myself out there a little bit more. So who wants to have me on? And lo and behold,
everybody was like, yeah, come on.
Everybody was like, hey, let's do it. And then as I'm doing that, I got other calls to do other stuff. So I don't even remember. I think the last time I talked to you, whatever number that was, I think is almost double by now. So, but
I mean, are you at this point? You're like pushing stuff into 2021.
Oh yeah, I already got. I got stuff up until March of 2021 so far.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm starting to do the same thing, just pushing it out because I'm like, I don't have the time to put into stuff as much as I want to when it comes to just lining stuff up and knocking it out. So
yeah. Then I had the brilliant idea of doing a weekly live show.
Right. InfoSec Unplugged. We'll put that down in the description underneath. I mean, I assume a lot of the people that are going to be watching this have already been watching InfoSec Unplugged, but if you haven't, go check it out. It is awesome. I think today is, I don't even know what day today is. Today's Tuesday? So, yeah. So Thursday you have InfoSec Sherpa?
Yep. Thursday I have InfoSec Sherpa.
Awesome.
That's going to be a great one.
Yeah.
Shout out to her for just, she sent me a message and was like, the show's awesome. And I was like, what would be awesome is if I could get you on the show. And we coordinated it, and here we go.
Yeah.
So
you can't beat that. I mean, that's awesome. I think that's going to be good. Have you lined up a whole bunch of other people after that as well, or are you still kind of working through all that stuff?
So I'm gonna take a week for the Thanksgiving holiday. Yeah. So I don't know whenever this airs, but yeah. So I'm gonna take a week for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then I have verbal commitments, but I haven't had anything locked in yet. But I have about 5. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
I have the next 5 lined up. And then I'm going to reach out to a few more, 6 if you include, and I'm going to keep saying it because she's gone, because she said it. And then I know she's busy, but 6 if you include whenever I can get Ari locked in.
Cool. Awesome.
So,
I probably got about the same. I think I got 4 or 5. But I'm stretching that into the new year. Um, gonna have. Well, I won't spoil anything. I'll wait for
mhm.
all that. So, for those of you who might not know Davin, Davin is a pen tester. And is it fair to say that you specialize in web app pen testing or everything in general?
um, everything in general, but I will say web app and application or like API testing
Hmm.
uh, as of recent. So I
Okay.
mean, I started off doing network pen testing, and then I
Yep.
moved into web app, and I did web app for a few years, and now I'm doing a combination of web app and application or API testing, and a little bit sprinkle a little bit of mobile in there.
Gotcha. What made you kind of make that transition from the networking stuff over into the applications and the web side of stuff?
You mean is just as far as just the pen testing is
Yeah.
concerned?
I mean, was it something that you just find that more interesting, or you find that there's like a more need in that space, so that was kind of what drove you
So
that way?
yeah, it's a little bit of both. Yeah, so it started out, network pen testing. I don't want to say that one is easier than the other
Sure.
because there's a lot of aspects of regular network pen testing with dealing with client machines and Active
Yeah.
Directory and stuff like that. So it has its own set of challenges. But just I think just the trajectory of where I was going in my career just kind of naturally led me to web app and then application pen testing. I still enjoy doing all of it,
Hmm.
but that's just where I'm at right now.
Was there
So like I
is
said,
there like
go ahead.
certain resources or things like that that you kind of dove into to kind of focus more on that, or it just kind of naturally came from doing all of it and it just evolved for you that way?
Um, yeah. So network pen testing versus web app pen testing, they have their own uh, set of unique vulnerabilities, right?
Sure.
So with with web app with regular network pen testing, you might find like a service or an application or
Yep.
something on the computer that might be outdated, or an unpatched version of Microsoft or something like that
Sure.
that you could then use to exploit. With web app pen testing, you have things like command injections and
Mm.
SQL injections, the whole OAuth top 10
Yep.
for web application. So I mean, there are some tools that that you can use in both. So your Wiresharks, your Nmap scans,
Yep.
and stuff like that. But then with web app pen testing, then you are introduced to other tools like OWASP or Burp Suite,
Yep.
or those sets of tools.
When it came to kind of going that way, most people end up having some type of labs and stuff like that that they use to kind of hone their skills. Um,
Mhm.
what do you have in your lab?
I have currently I have a bunch of machines that you can find on VulnHub,
Okay. Yep.
just because I like to practice all the time, and I actually had it set up where I kind of had like almost like a server or an old computer that just had a bunch of old machines on there, and I would just kind of fire them up
Yep.
and put it on the internal network at home. And this way I could, wherever I'm sitting, I can just fire up my laptop, run a nmap scan on the
Mm.
network and see what's out there. That's kind of how I started.
Yep.
Now, like I said, I'll download maybe like 5 at a time. Um, set them up on a VM, whether it's a VirtualBox or VMware,
Sure. Sure.
um, and just go through them from time to time. Now I'm probably going to migrate most of that stuff to the cloud later on, in maybe in 2021, um, and just do it that way. But between that and then there's Hack the Box that you do online, and
Sure.
Try Hack Me that's another website.
Do
You really
they
don't need to do it.
do they have a lot of like web pen testing type of
Yeah.
they do? Okay.
Well, I know Hack the Box definitely does. Try Hack Me. I know it's a lot of stuff for starting out, and then it moves up into the advanced stuff. But I mean, like I said, web app hacking is definitely something that everybody should know, even if it's just the basics. I think even most pen testing courses now still teach you, the basics of SQL injection and stuff like that. So a lot of them have some type of web app aspect to it that you might have to, brute force or look at the source code or something to try to get some information in the CTF. So, they sprinkle in web app in there a lot.
Now, have you dabbled at all with like bug bounties and stuff like that?
Yes and no. I tried to a couple years ago. Got a dupe, a duplicate submission.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but it's on my list of goals that I want to start doing, like designating 1 day a week to doing bug bounties. Once everything kind of, I guess, gets back to normal.
Sure.
But like I said, I think bug bounties are great for learning stuff. For some people, it's very lucrative.
Yeah. You see that all over the timeline all the time.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be my next point. I see a lot of people who jump into bug bounties and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to work full time as a bug bounty hunter. And it's like, listen, that's great, but it's almost like when people say they want to, become a professional athlete, right?
Sure.
And it's like, that's great. What's your backup plan?
Right.
That's what I usually tell people. It's like, some people are can do it. But again, you're also, while you're doing that, you're competing against thousands of other hackers from all over the world who are dedicating all type of resources to finding those bugs. So, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So have a backup plan.
It's kind of funny because I don't really know like all that much about that from like a community perspective, but it seems like it's there's like a few like really big, I hate to use this term, but like rock stars that are in like the bug bounty stuff, and it's like very I don't know, it's interesting from the outside looking in on that.
Yeah, I mean, because you see your people like like Namsec or Stoke or Jason Haddix, or a few. You see these guys, and yeah, they're absolutely great at what they do, and shout out to all of them. And then you even see some of the people who have become millionaires off of doing bug bounties, and it's like, well, why can't I do it? And it could be you, but like I said, it's just seeing that, and the more popular bug bounties become, unfortunately, is the more more crowded it's going to get, and the more competitive it's going to be. So that's why it's a love-hate thing, because it's you find something and you're like, yes, and then it's like, okay, it's either a duplicate or the finding isn't as big as you thought it was, and it's like, okay, well, here's this t-shirt. So
is there, based off of the stuff that you do and dealing with different clients and stuff like that, do you have any like top recommendations that you actually would give to an organization? Like based off of everything that you see, like here's 2 things that you should be doing for sure that would help minimize the atrocity that is your web apps and your network.
Patch your shit. I'm not sure if I can. I'm sorry if I.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, but patch your stuff.
Yep.
Stay on top of that. I shouldn't determine that you're like 8 versions behind on your on software that you're using, or when I come to you and say, hey, this stuff is outdated, you might want to look into patching it and bringing it up to the latest version, and then you look at me and say, oh, it's not a big deal, we don't use that anymore. Well, then you need to decommission that or uninstall. You need to get rid of it. So patch your stuff, keep an inventory of everything that you use, and then honestly, it's just don't click on suspicious links. You know, you know, I say it all the time, and I say it in a lot of the meetings. I'm like, you pay us a lot of money to try to find creative ways to get into your systems.
Yep.
What's the point if all I have to do is send out a nice little crafty email?
Yep.
And ask for it.
Right. Yeah.
Believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, that's usually how most people get in. It's not, you know, you have these sophisticated attacks, but you know, not everyone has a nation state budget.
Right.
Not everyone has the skill sets of like your APTs out there, your advanced persistent threats or anything like that. Sometimes it's literally sending an email or making a phone call and making that person believe that you are who you say you are and getting them to click the link. I had a guy one time who was on my team, awkward guy, right? But man, he would like literally make you fish yourself. Like I seen him walk into a call center, find a cube, just sit there, look around for a little while, make it known that he's there, so people are suspicious of him.
Yeah. And
then when he feels like enough people are starting to whisper like, hey, who's that guy? He gets up, walks over, and then he starts to say, hey, I'm with XYZ. I need you to plug this USB into your computer and then go into this website right now. And no questions asked. You're like, okay. Another time I saw him walk into a franchise. So leading up to the engagement, he went on eBay and found a polo shirt of the company that we were targeting. And we sat back and we did our open source intelligence, and we started getting names of employees who work there that sit in, not like big names where sure, you could just shoot it off, but names of like maybe mid-level or lower, like VPs or something like that you wouldn't quite necessarily know unless you worked for the company.
Yeah.
And he walks in and he's like, such and such sent me. I was supposed to come yesterday, but my kid was sick and I'm really falling behind schedule. So could you please just let me in? And and they're like, all right, fine, come on. And they let him in, and he goes, okay, I'm gonna keep you posted. And then like 5 minutes later, he's like, yeah, he goes, I'm in the server, I'm admin. And I'm like, how? And he's like, oh, she gave me the password. So he literally walked in and was like, I'm in such a rush. He's like, I just want to make sure all your stuff is patched. And she was so happy that she knew her stuff was patched and her stuff was up to date. And she was like, go ahead, find it for yourself. Here, log in with my credentials. So it's just like, it sucks because we in certain situations we play to the strengths of things that we were taught growing up to be, decent human beings, right? Yeah. Like holding the door for somebody, if you see them going in the elevator, you see someone running, right, hold the elevator for them. Right. Yeah. If they ask a question, don't stare wrong, or don't look at people all the time. So, we play to those things and use it to our advantage. But when you're dealing with companies, like I said, that's literally half the time. That's literally how we get into stuff, So it's just kind of like keep your stuff patched, train your folks on, clicking suspicious links, doing a quarterly or biannual training, sure, where where
some
they watch a video
awareness program or campaign.
That's not going to do it. If you're just going to do it like everybody knows it's coming quarterly, okay, just click. Yeah. Congratulations, your certificate. You gotta stay on top of it. As far as that, I think that's pretty much it. And or to the network staff and stuff, we're not the enemy. Right. That's one thing.
Yep.
a lot of problems, a lot of times you deal with the clients like, we're not there to make you look bad. We're not there to crap on your work. We're just there to help. And I try to usually, before the pen test starts, I usually try to meet with them outside of management and just say, listen, guys, we're gonna work together here. It's not a us versus you type thing. We just want to make sure you're secure. Obviously, you want to make sure you're secure. We'll try to give you any heads up if we notice anything that's too crazy. So maybe you can get started before the report, before we do the presentation. Just don't change anything while we're testing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think from my perspective, it's always been, when you're bringing people in to do that, that's their specific job and that's their focus. And it's, as a person who works and operates in IT, we don't necessarily have the time or the bandwidth, no pun intended, to focus on those types of things all the time, right? So you want to take as much of an advantage when somebody's there doing that type of stuff and hope that they find things that you aren't aware of. That way you can fix it. Because if not, then you're kind of just doing yourself a disservice and you don't, necessarily get anything out of that. But I guess the flip side of that is you want to make sure that whoever you have that is actually doing the assessments is actually providing back actionable information that, you can use to actually fix things. Versus, we popped these 5 boxes and here's a Nessus report and have a good day. Yeah.
That's the other thing that pisses me off on our side of the thing, of what we do. A pen test isn't a Nessus scan.
Right.
I've seen where other jobs that are companies that I've come from, I'm like, oh, let me see your previous pen test reports. Let me see how they did things. And it was like, yeah, here. And I'm like, this is a Nessus scan, or this is a Qualys scan. Where's the actual pen test report? Oh, this was the pen test. No, you paid someone a lot of money to run a scan. That's a vulnerability
scan, man.
and then they didn't even go to confirm that the vulnerability. They just gave you They just gave you output from the scan. It's not even like they went in and said, hey, this is a legitimate thing, or this may be a false positive. Right. It was legitimately on this day, this team performed penetration tests on this system. Here are results, and then it was just attached the scan output. And then that pisses me off because when you try to do it, or if you're in business for yourself or try to do certain things, and you're like, well, it's going to cost XYZ for a pen test.
Right.
And they're like, well, the last person only charged me $500. I'm like, how many systems do you have? Oh, we have about we have 500 computers, and so that's $1 a computer. Right. And it's like, well, yeah. And this is what they did. And I'm looking, I'm like, it's a scam. And then no lie. I'm not kidding. I saw someone charge somebody a cheap amount, and they ran an OpenVAS scan on their system. And for those who don't know, OpenVAS is is an open source. It's based on previous versions of Nessus.
Yep.
It's great to do your little stuff here and there.
It is in your house. It's great for your house.
Yeah. It is not meant for commercial testing. But yeah, someone charged a certain amount of money, and I mean it was a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
And ran an OpenVAS scan on them, and then when they asked me to do it, and I gave my price, they just thought I was trying to rob them, and I said, well, the guy's using open source software. It's not really, I wouldn't say it's regularly maintained.
Right. Yeah. So you use that term loosely.
Yeah, really. So, but yeah, like I said, pen testing. Yes, there is a vulnerability assessment involved in it. You do run your scans, but what makes a pen test different than your vulnerability assessment is that You verify that the vulnerabilities exist. You also do some manual testing. So, if it says, hey, there's a SQL injection vulnerability, you're actually going to go and confirm by running certain SQL queries on the system. You can't just rely on the scan. A lot of people talk about that, especially when they talk about like automation. It's like, yeah, that's great, but I always think there's going to be a place for manual testing, especially with things changing all the time.
And there's nothing wrong. I mean, you use Nessus to enumerate things, and use that as one of your tools that you use as a first step, if you want to, right?
Or just an extra set of eyes, right?
Sure.
Because you could go, oh, I didn't see that. Let me just confirm it. Oh yeah, you're right. It is confirmed. And now when you write the report, you can reference the Nessus scan, but then you can also say, here are the manual steps I took to confirm the vulnerability exists. That to me makes it a little bit more concrete.
Now, do you have a bit of a preference for folks getting into pen testing having a operational IT background prior to getting into pen testing?
I don't. So I'm gonna say something that's crazy, but hear me all the way out.
All right, you have the floor, sir.
And I learned this over time. I don't necessarily care about the skills, because the skills can be taught to the right person, right?
Yep.
I need to see that you have some of the other intangibles or other characteristics that would make a good pen tester. The fact, how do you go about, gathering your knowledge or gathering your information? The mindset, the joke is to kind of be in this field, whether it's pen testing, whether it's cybersecurity or networking, you have to have a little level of crazy. There's like this little itch in the back of your head, right? That while everybody's like, oh yeah, this is great, you're going, this is great, but I wonder what would happen if, right?
Sure.
Case in point, last year we went to Disney. They gave you the arm, they gave you the little wristbands, and I'm walking around and it's cool because as you walk around, you might see your name on a billboard somewhere, or you go to certain places and it's like, oh look, boom. I'm like, that's great. How is all of this? There's got to be some type of API, something. And I'm like, I'm going through it and I'm playing it out. I'm playing it all out in my head, and then I'm going. And the funny thing is, like, we're sitting there, and my wife, she sees it. So we're sitting there and she's like, stop. And I'm like, what? She's like, we're on vacation. Stop. And I'm like, I'm not even doing anything. She goes, you're trying to figure something out. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. Right.
But man, that bug bounty right there probably would have paid for the whole vacation.
Oh yeah. Right. But yeah, so you have to have that curiosity. Like in my API talk, I talked about it when searching for vulnerabilities in APIs, but you could really use that in pen testing in general. Sure. It's almost like what's this do? What happens when I push this button? It's it's almost like that childlike curiosity. You have to have that. You have to have the thirst for knowledge, because if you don't want to read, or you don't think that this stuff is always changing and you need to stay on top of it, you might want to consider another profession.
That absolutely trips me out when people say that they want to get into IT or cyber and they hate reading. I'm like, oh man, I mean, I want you to be successful, but seriously, it's 95% reading. That's literally what it is.
So we were at a family gathering, and I know, and leaving, like, and it's funny because, again, like, my wife is like my moral compass. Like, I look to her and I'm like, too much, and she's like, a little bit. So we were at a family gathering, and one of my pet peeves is when people just walk in and what it took to get to where you are, right?
Yeah.
And then someone just comes and is like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna be just like you. Yeah, oh, you're doing great. So where do I sign up tomorrow? I was like, dude, this took years and many sleepless nights and how many certifications. But we were sitting at this dinner, and this family member was like, yeah, you know, I'm finishing with college, but I want to get into IT. And I'm like, all right, cool. You might want to grab a couple certifications, you know, baseline, network plus, security plus, and then figure out where you want to go. And he said, but what can I do that doesn't involve reading or taking tests? Because I have my associate's degree, so that should be enough, right? And I was like, no, you might want to need something that's going to help complement you, because you still need to have the understanding of the job. And I think this is BS. And he's going back and forth. And I'm like, you know what? UPS is hiring. Like, you know, it's like, and it's not a knock to UPS people, because listen, I've done it too. But this is like, you know what? If you want something that's just cut and dry, go, you know, learn how to read a map or whatever, and go drive the routes on UPS or something, because this isn't it for you.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, the other family members were looking at me like, oh, this asshole. This
because like he just burnt down his dreams. Look at that.
But it was because, I mean, and I'm giving the short end of it, but it was like 15 minutes of me saying, listen, you know, you might have a one-up on me because I didn't go to college.
Right.
But you still want to make sure you get a couple certifications and make sure you get the hands-on stuff, because that's what's going to get you paid. Anybody can kind of get like a tech job. I mean, hell, you can get a job at, you know, Staples or wherever. I mean, hell, I think Best Buy even requires some type of certifications to do Geek Squad.
Okay.
But, you know, you can grab something here and there. But if you really want to make a career out of it, if you really want to build on that career, because no one wants to stay making whatever it is,
right? Yeah,
you know,
whatever the entry level IT job is, right? Yeah.
Right. Whatever that salary is, no one wants to make that forever. Like I made it. It sucked. I wanted to do better. I did. So it's like, you know, you have to do the work. You have to put that time in. And it was like I was trying to explain it to him, and it was just like he just did not want to get it. So after a while, I was just like, you know what, dude, best of luck to you. Like, God bless. Take care. But yeah, like I said, did I go off?
Do you run into that much on Twitter?
Because
you put, you know,
Twitter, no. Instagram, yes.
Oh.
Twitter, at least our side of Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, you might get a question here and there where it's just like, I you know, teach me how to hack. And it's like, okay, great. What type of background do you have in technology? None. Okay. What certification? Do you have any certifications? Have you done anything?
Right.
No. Well, what makes you even think you want to do hacking or pen testing? Oh, I saw a thread on Reddit, or, you know, I watched Mr. Robot and thought it was cool, or like I said, I heard you can make good money doing it. These are all true. Mr. Robot's a great show.
Yeah.
That's not all it takes. And then, unfortunately, you know, if you want to get a job in, let's say you want to do pen testing for, you know, a company or, you know, a government contract or something like that, a lot of that stuff you don't even get to do. Like, there's a lot of red tape and a lot of politics that get involved in, and then there's
that's outside of scope. You're not doing that.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Everything is outside of scope. You can't do that. You did what? No, that doesn't count. Out of scope.
Like, so in reading your scope here, really, it seems like you just want me to do an authenticated Nessus scan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yep. And but don't be too intrusive. You know.
Yeah.
Will that cause a DDoS condition? So yeah. So it's like, you know, it is what it is. So like I said, I try to help those where I can. Instagram, like I said, if you go on my Instagram, to this day, I still get the messages where I literally had to put it in my bio where it was like, no, I do not hack social media accounts. No, I will not teach you how. I had a whole talk. I think one time I did a post on was it Instagram or Facebook, and someone sent me a message and was like, no, but seriously, can you? And I said, I was like, LOL, because I thought they were joking in response to, and they're like, I'm dead serious. I need you to log into my girlfriend's phone. And I was like, no. No. well, why not? First of all, that's illegal. Like, oh, but you could do no. I thought one time someone asked me that and I told them no, and I said no because it's illegal. And they're like, oh, but they said, the good hackers don't get caught.
You were talking to a 12-year-old. I mean,
yeah, no, I was like, you know why they don't get caught? Because they don't do dumb shit. That was pretty much it.
Oh man, yeah. Luckily, I don't run into like that too much. I mean, I think the furthest that it kind of gets is people that have a little bit of a expeditious perspective on how quick it takes to get from point A to point B. So, it'd just be, you do this, you do this, you do this, and next thing you know, you're making $200,000 somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, hate to break it to you.
Yeah. That's not how any of this works.
No.
You
can get there. Yeah. You can get there, but come on, man. You've been in IT for a year and a half.
So, and the funny thing is, and I'm not going to say names, but when I first got into IT, before I even knew I was going to move into cybersecurity, I had this goal of like a team of me and a couple friends that I grew up with, right? Mm-hmm. That we all kind of had the same type of background. We all were kind of techie somewhat.
Yep.
But I had this vision that I was like, man, I'm going to start something and I'm going to bring my crew with me. And
was that going to be the original Wolf Pack?
Yeah. So it was the original Wolf Pack, but it was actually called Mission Control.
Okay. Right? All right. I like it.
And it like the vision I had in my head was just, like I said, a bunch of kids from the neighborhood who, like I said, we wasn't much expected of us where we came up.
Yeah.
But in my head, it was just like, we were going to, break the status quo and we were just going to do what we do and we were going to be great at it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to, if it takes me to be the first one to do it and then bring my crew with me, then fine. And I did it. And I would make sure, like, for one, I'm a hands-on type of guy. So I would always buy the actual book. Right.
Yeah.
But I would buy the book. I would buy the ebook version. Right. And, I would do everything I could. And as I'm doing it, I'm like, I'd look back at my friends. I'm like, listen, yo, come do this with me. Like, yo, we could sit, chill in the house, grab a couple drinks. We could study. We can get through this together. That didn't work. I partied a lot in my younger days. Even when I was too young to legally party, I was still showing up to certain places. So I think I was like, I was old by like 24, 25. Like I was sick of the club scene and all of that.
Yeah.
Right. I would go occasionally, but after a while it was like, man, when I go to the club, I spend I don't know how much money, right? Because you got to get the right outfit. You got to get the right outfit.
If you get a table, then it's over.
Okay, right. And you saw me earlier. You saw me on the one when you did my show. The shoes got to match the fit.
Right. Yeah.
Down to the socks, right? Yep. And then I had it budgeted. Okay, it's gonna cost about $20 to get into the club. All right, then it's gonna cost X amount for a drink. If you see someone that you're interested in, you might want to offer them a drink. I had a system.
Yep.
I'm gonna buy them a drink, and I'm gonna buy their friend a drink, so the friend doesn't try to block
right. Yeah, no.
what I'm trying to do right here, right? So I had a whole
that's
system,
an established
right? And then
theory.
when I finally, right. And then like I said, and after the club, you might want to go to the diner or hit the after hour spot, and then make sure you have money on hand, depending on where the night brought you.
Right.
And then as I got older, and then like I said, I settled down, and it was, you know, I was no longer single and stuff like that. I started looking, I'm like, man, instead of doing all of that, I could probably spend $75 to $100 on some bottles, sit down in the house. I don't have to worry about anybody drinking and driving. I don't have to worry about if we get into any trouble outside of the club. I'm not trying to get locked up on a Friday because you're not getting a rain till Monday. If anybody drinks too much or overconsumes, they can crash here and everybody be safe. So I was like, man, I'm trying to do all this stuff. I was trying to do meetups before meetups were meetups. Like I'm trying to bring in people from the neighborhood, and they just didn't want to do it. And I'm like, all right, fine, you know, I'll just stay in my bubble. And I just kept grinding and kept grinding and kept grinding. And then finally, when I got to, I guess, a level of notoriety or something, whatever it is you want to call it, all of a sudden it was like, man, why didn't you tell us? It was like, yo, you was doing this the whole time. Why didn't you tell us? Or yo, I'm gonna do what you do. So, you know, just tell me what I need to do right now. I had one friend who's like he was like legitimately upset with me because he's like, you know, and now you won't help me. I'm like, dude, I told you to come to the house. I told you to come to the house. I literally still have the books and the notes and everything that I took. Only thing I can't do is take the test for you.
Right. Yeah. You can't spoon feed that anymore than that.
Yeah. Right. So it's just like, so to me, that was upsetting because it's like, these are people who I grew up with, who know me, who saw me day in and day out.
Yep. And
then didn't see me for X amount of time because they knew I was in the lab studying and then it was just like to see that, okay, yeah, I've been doing it for how many years now? Like my daughter's so about 14, almost 15 years now. And then you think, oh, so everything you did in 15 years, I need you to condense that and teach it to me in the next hour. Go.
So, what do you think stopped them from doing it? Like, why? If you were putting it out there, like is just not having a desire for IT, or?
I think it's a couple things. I make no secret about it. Like I said, growing up where we grew up, you know, again, it was always, sometimes it was direct, sometimes it was indirect, but we were always kind of made to feel like we couldn't do it, like we weren't smart enough. And then you're also talking about 22, 23, 24-year-old, 25-year-old guys who are still single and, you know, want to go roam the streets and do whatever. I had a different mindset, you know, like I at that age, I had my daughter. Yeah. Should I have my daughter and my son? I think by that time I was, you know, practically married before legitimately married. Right. You know, so there was just a different mindset for me where they were more about the here and now, and I was more focused on what I need to leave for them. Yeah. And one of my friends who actually ended up, you know, years later, we ran into each other, and he's like, man, listen, he goes, I understand now. Right. He's like, as a husband and as a father, he goes, I get what you were trying to convey to us then. Now he's like, you know, my only regret is that I just didn't pay a little bit more attention then. And again, and me being who I am, I'm still always open to help. Sure. But like I said, you could lead them to water, you can't make them drink. Yeah. So I think it was a combination of things. Like I said, I think, you know, there were other things that they were interested in. I also think there was that self-doubt, because that self-doubt does creep its nasty little head. You know, we know it as imposter syndrome. Right. But, you know, like I said, you growing up, You know, it was always either we did it the way everybody else did it, which was, you know, sports, entertainment, media, whatever, music, or something illegal. So I think that's, I think it just depending on the friend, it depends on their mindset.
Man, I mean, that's kind of good and like disappointing at the same time that your friend came back and said that to you later on, because it's like, man, but
I mean, because again, back then it's like, oh, you changed, you done switched up, or your girl got you whipped, or whatever, whatever the case may be. And you know what? And like I said, as a man, like I can admit, I wouldn't call it whipped, but she definitely changed my outlook, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because again, as a single guy, you only have to think for yourself.
Right.
When you're with someone, and you're truly with someone, and you're committed, now you start to look at what they're interested in. You start thinking about, you're no longer thinking about today or tonight or the weekend. You're thinking about the future.
Long
now
term.
You throw it. Now you throw kids in the mix, right? Like anywhere you ask, like I credit my wife for basically putting her foot in my ass to turn me into tech, right? Because I came home from the military and literally dead end job after dead end job. I tried electrical for a while, fell off a ladder, decided I didn't want to do that anymore, and I fell off of a 25-foot ladder. And as you're falling, and it's funny because as you're falling, it starts to slow down, whatever. And my dumb ass thought, if I jump off the ladder while falling, it might not be that bad. So I did that, didn't work. I laid there for a second. And said, if I get up and nothing's broken, I'm walking off the job site.
Oh wow.
And I got up and I was like, and I headed to my car and I left.
I'm out.
Yep. And then I did low voltage because that was a little safer.
Yeah.
But I don't know where it is, if it's like that everywhere else, but in Connecticut, in order to get your license, you have to be registered as an apprentice.
Oh, okay.
To get registered as an apprentice, the company you work for has to register you.
Okay.
So I did low voltage, so it was like alarm systems. Like I was doing basically like almost like the very first smart houses, right? Everything was controlled by a remote, the blinds, everything. And I was there for like a year or two, and I went and I said, listen, you got to register me, because once you get registered, you would get incremental raises based on where you are every few months, every 6 months or so. And then once you're ready, and then how they did it was once you were ready to take the test for your license, you would be making almost what a licensed electrician made. But in order to get, like I said, none of that time mattered if you weren't registered and if the company didn't register you. So it was like a year and a half, 2 years. I remember I walked into my boss's office and he looked at me straight up and said, "Why would I register you?" He was like, "I can keep you at making $950. If I register you, then I have to make sure I give you this, and I have to give you these raises and stuff." So I remember going home telling myself, I no longer want to be in a position where someone can dictate my growth.
Yeah.
Right. And the argument could be made, well, unless you work for yourself, whatever. But the way I looked at it was, if I can look at, when the list comes out of the top 20 certifications and what they make, and then you look at the job based on those certifications. Okay, if you won't pay me, then I can take my talents elsewhere.
Right. Yep.
And that was my thought process. And I remember coming home and I just couldn't quite piece it together, because again, at that time in my head, I would have to go back to college, and I didn't want to go to college.
Yep.
I just had my daughter. I needed something not quick and fast, but I couldn't see myself dedicating that much time because I knew what it would take. And for me to do that and work full time, it would just would have been crazy. And I remember like falling into a depression, and my wife, like, she literally sat down one day and was like, what the do you want to do? And I remember I was like, what? And she's like, what is it that you like to do? And I'm like, well, I always was interested in tech, and she was like, so go do it. And I was like, but, and she's like, no, shut up, go do it. And I'm like, yeah, but it might take this or it might take that. And she's like, figure it out. Excuse me. She was like, figure it out and go do it. Like, you got a family to take care of. Like, you can't like sitting here, you're like, yo, get off your ass and go do it. And like I said, and I tell that story to certain people, and it's like, man, she talked to you like, yeah, you know what?
That's what you needed right then. That was exactly what you
like
needed.
I said, she's the mother of my children. Like, yeah, absolutely. and that's how. And then I remember looking, and I was like, oh, I don't actually have to go the college route. I can actually get the certifications and get the hands-on experience. And that's where that kind of started. So, like I said, and again, even then I still had that doubt. It's like, I don't know if I could do it. And it wasn't until you get in there and it's like, it's no different than anything else you do, right? From video games to anything. Right. It's no different. You learn the basics, and then from the basics, you learn the advanced stuff, and then you learn how to make it your own.
Right.
And once you get past that self-doubt of, I'm not sure if I'm smart enough, or I'm not, once you get rid of that, the possibilities are endless as to what you can do. As like I said, as long as you're willing to do the work, and like I said, always bet on yourself or believe in yourself.
And I think it's also empowering once you get to that point where you realize that there is not one person that knows all of it. And so as long as you realize that, then you're not competing with everybody else. It's just, are you learning more than what you knew before? Right? And if you can also align that with the things that you find interesting within the career field, then there's plenty of space out there for everybody to find something that they're good at within it and be successful.
Right. And I think that's what makes our side of Twitter great, because everybody who's on here are in different fields or similar fields, but we all have, no matter what our backgrounds are, we all have the same thing in common. We all want to succeed at what we do.
Right.
We all struggle with it from day to day. We all deal with the imposter syndrome. Some of us can be looking at the same certification at the same time, and you may have insight that I didn't, or I might be able to share a tip that you may not have looked at that helped me. That to me is major, because first starting out, like I said, up until maybe 3 years ago, I didn't think of Twitter. Like, I had a Twitter account, but it was just like, what am I gonna do with it?
Right.
So that definitely was refreshing to see that there's so many people out there, or hell, even so many people that look like me out there that are going through the same thing, or just like-minded people. Like I said, I met you on Twitter. I met Ty, Marcus J. Carey. I met all these people. I met all these great people on Twitter who, the one common thing we have is, we served in the military, stuff like that. But the one common thing we had is that we love what we do, and we want to be great at it, and we want to help others be great at it. So that's definitely a plus.
Yep. Yeah. And we talked about this before. Like, I just like you, I had no idea any of that stuff existed out there. It all was just whoever was in my local circles, as far as, people that I've worked with and stuff like that. Like the people, from the military, and then, getting into, you know, contracting and stuff like that. So the people that you meet on different projects and stuff like that. But mine was kind of twofold. It was the Twitter side of things and then also the conferences side of things. So it's like, and there's a lot of overlap between the people that do both of those, I would say. So yeah, the amount of support and knowledge and people that, at least, you know, on the surface level, genuinely look like they want to, you know, root for you, right?
Yep.
Is a very powerful and positive thing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I didn't do a lot of the conferences at first. Probably because of that same imposter syndrome, right? It's like, what business do I have going there and watching these people speak and stuff like that? And then once I finally went and you hear some of the stories or you meet some of the people, it's like, man, what was I scared of, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
exactly. So what was the there was something else you wanted to talk about?
Oh, so two things, like I said.
All right.
One, you had the conversation with Bees.
Yep.
And y'all said something. Shout out to Bees.
Yep.
And if you're watching, you know, y'all said something real disrespectful. Y'all were talking about dry rub versus sauces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love dry rubs. Dry rubs are great, but I feel like if you do it right, the sauce, man.
So
And you said, and then wait, hold on. You said you feel like people use sauce to cover up their mistakes, and,
yep.
and I felt personally attacked. Because like over the summer, I looked away for a minute. And I was cooking some ribs, and the fire was too hot, and I was like,
I think.
But that was the one time.
The phrase is, if it don't apply, let it fly, right? So you have nothing to worry about. I don't think, right?
No, listen, whenever this COVID, we keep saying whenever this COVID stuff let up,
yeah.
But I've been that's one of the things I've been working on. Actually, before COVID, I've been working on this sauce. Like my wife, you know, my wife does her custom cakes, and she's a hell of a cook too. But we like everything spicy, so I've been working on this sauce with some barbecue sauce and some homemade barbecue sauce, some jerk seasoning. And,
so
you know, you
that
throw it
sounds
all in the mix.
Fantastic to me. I love jerk seasoning. Let me caveat that conversation with the fact that was Bees who said that she doesn't like barbecue, first off, because of the fact that it has sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer dry rub, but I have absolutely no issues with sauces. I love sauces. When I go and get barbecue, as long as they have good sauces, I get the sauce. So I like that. But
I will say this though, for her, I didn't find, and it's probably gonna rub some people the wrong way. I didn't find Texas barbecue to be that great either.
Okay.
like I didn't like. I mean, I've had barbecue from different places. I mean, there are some good spots in Texas, but no, I remember the first time I had barbecue out there. I think it was in San Antonio, and I was like, man, what the hell is all the fuss about? I remember that. So
I will say though that I do stand by my assumption, not my assumption because it's based off of fact, that I have been to many barbecue places, or, you know, actually, it's not normally good barbecue places. It's normally a place that will have some barbecue dishes on their menu, right?
Yeah.
Where barbecue is not their main thing, and the meat is unseasoned or it's dry, and they just drowned it in, you know, whatever sauce they have. So, but if you got a good sauce, I'm 100% down with good sauces. I love.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, whenever we link up, we got to do it, man. Like I said, but I'm with you with the unseasoned stuff too.
Yeah.
So that. And then we off air we were talking about you said we were talking about a cookout, and you were talking about Brandon saying you were invited to the cookout, and I wanted to know, was it to an actual cookout or the metaphorical cookout?
No, the metaphorical cookout at that point because of the conversation.
Okay, well, I agree. I agree 100%.
Oh,
I agree 100%. You are definitely invited to. You're invited to any damn cookout.
Yeah. Well, I told him that when I show up to cookouts, I only take leftovers, so I try to not ruin it for everybody else. So I'm not greedy or anything like that, and I don't put raisins or any of that type of crap in any of my food.
Who put that up?
I don't know.
Paris Athena put up someone.
Oh no, it was jerk chicken, but it was jerk chicken that was done by like Dole, like the fruit company, and it's like they put every can of fruit that they had in that thing. It was disgusting.
And my comment was, I've been Jamaican my entire life and have never seen a raisin next to a dish.
No.
Ever. I mean, the chicken in the damn season, the chicken looked like it was boiled.
Oh, it did. It looked like what's that chicken that you get that's already pre-cooked, like in the deli section, like that.
Yeah.
It was atrocious. It was really, really, really gross looking. But
yeah, I don't get offended easily. I was offended. Next time we make some jerk chicken, I'm gonna put up a picture and like this. This is what it's supposed to look like.
My go-to, I'm trying to remember if we talked about this before. My go-to for jerk seasoning is Walker's Wood, which is out of Jamaica. They have a fantastic. It's not a dry rub; it's a wet rub.
Yep.
And you only need a couple tablespoons of that per 2 or 3 pounds of chicken, and that will get you headed in the right direction. And then if you want to do anything else with it, then go ahead and do whatever. But
so we have there's a wet rub, but then like I said, we got like the onion, we cut up dice up the onion stuff in the seasoning and everything. But yeah, like I said, it's got to be done right. It's got to be done right, man.
Yep, most definitely. Well, so you got any other things that you want to plug or anything like that going on? InfoSec Unplugged? Any other chats?
Yeah, so like I said, InfoSec Unplugged Thursdays live. Check that out. Check out my previous episodes with yours truly here with JB.
I'm gonna put links for everything down in the description. So
yeah, I also I did talks with Trenton Brooks, De'Ara J. Footman, and Tyrone Wilson. So please go check those out. If you like what's going on, you can support on Buy Me a Coffee. I thought about doing a whole thing with Patreon and stuff like that, but Buy Me a Coffee, it's not really a coffee, but doing that to help upgrade some stuff I got going on here. And hopefully 2021 you'll hear a lot more. I got some things in the works. I just don't want to speak on it just yet because I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, just check that out. Check out the blog, alphacybersecurity.tech, and follow me on Twitter, djax_alpha. Shout out to you, JB. Like I said, you've always been a real one, man. Definitely. Like I said, just even connecting on Twitter, like I guess I tell people, I'm like, you and Ty, like we're like a 3-man weave sometimes, especially whereas but also like I said, when if I'm going through it or if I see one of you guys and it seems like you're going through it, first ones to kind of hit me up like, hey, is everything okay? So proud of you, happy to see everything that you're doing and all the success that's coming your way. You deserve it. We'll definitely link up when all this stuff dies down and work on some stuff.
Yes, most definitely. Cool. Well, then I think that wraps this up for this episode of TCP Handshakes. And appreciate everybody checking it out, and we will talk soon. Cool. So that wraps up our TCP Handshakes chat with Davin. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Please make sure that you do go and subscribe to his content. You're really going to like all the stuff that he puts out. If you've watched a video up to this point and you haven't done it yet, please make sure that you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. If you have any other guests that you'd like me to interview on TCP Handshakes, throw those names down in the comments down below. Also, if you have any other topics that you want to hear about, throw those down below as well. I hope everybody has a great week. Take care of yourselves, your family. Reach out to folks that you're not going to be seeing over Thanksgiving. Make sure that you let them know that you care about them. We'll talk soon. All right, take care.